Quiet on the set. Don't interfere with the productions. This is our Fourwinds. Little old Chevrolet Class C. You can see how rotted it is. Right there. We just took this piece off and all that's rotted. So you go looking for one of these and you go, I'm really thinking about purchasing a Class C. What you want to look at is right here, over here. And you come down, and if you see this belly down, you got a rotted bunk. So, at least you can see it bellies down. This one isn't as great as some of the other ones, but it still is rotted. Also, if you take and punch up around here, punch, you'll feel it's not solid. Then you'll, you know, or if you see any waving of the Phylon isn't really fiberglass; it's plastic with fiberglass. So, if you see any of that stuff, corn mold, and you see it all slobbered up with caulking, you got a problem. You know, if you see it all slobbered up with caulking around here. Now, those are things you just want to look for. Some of it's common sense. And obviously if you go inside and it looks like they've been messing with it. And you get on the roof, the same thing. So I'm going to go up there and take a look at this roof. And then they got these great stairs. Makes it easy. We haven't got everything all squared away in regards to the, like we want to protect the awning. And look at here, gee whiz. Man, that is a whole host of, let's see what we got. Ooh, about what, 3.25 inches of caulking on there from here to here. That's a generous amount for sure. Look how filthy this thing is. I guess they had some issues right here. Here's another non-smart idea. We're going to use the word non-smart. See how they sealed around the bottom? Where's the water going to go? I mean, you're going to get water in there, for sure. Driving rain, you're going to get some sort of moisture condensation. Where's it going? It's staying in there, and that's going to fester. And it's going to be an issue. I got to figure out this mess, because we got to put a curb on here, I'm guessing, and figure that max air. It's kind of unusual. So, these are some of the challenges we have. Alright, so we're going to get the roof done, as you can see. And then this is just your cheap old, you know, Dicor roof. But more wrong. Antenna obviously got jerked out, ripped off, or whatever. But these boots, sometimes these boots, you'll see them sitting on the antenna right here, like that. And if they are, make sure you have some boogerage up underneath there, because the water will come down the wire and it'll leak into the coach. And boy, that is an ancient air conditioner. What is that? That is old. It says it's a Coleman, so it looks like an old unit to me. Anyhow, this is what we got. A big mess. A big mess. So we just kind of come down and take a look at the awning and, you know, make sure everything's okay. We'll probably go around and make sure, so, you know, on the caulking end of here, you know, I don't think it's in our work order. I'll double check, but I don't think it's in our work order that we're going to go around and seal every single thing. But we like to try to seal what we can, usually from the platform here up. So if somebody, well, we've had people come in and go, hey, I got a leak. Bring it in, we'll take a look at it. We take a look at it. No, you didn't seal the windows. You didn't seal the door. You didn't seal what you needed to seal after we went over all this. So we try to do that. So this way we don't get them. If you see a leak, it's going to become way below the roof line, that's for sure. But there's some insert trim. This one, it has kind of a different, it's not quite the snap-on that we use. This one here still sits in there, but it's a little more rigid than your average. So, but one thing I don't like about this already, right off the rip, is there's no gutters on this. You need to get all this, you know, water, you get it all flowed off the roof, but there's no gutters here, so we'll probably have to look for it. So we're going to start tearing this thing apart and see what we got. But obviously we got a bunk rebuild, we got D-lam on that side. Let's see what we can do. We start taking her apart. Awesome. This is what we do. It's exciting. It's exciting stuff right here. More to come. Check out the rot. This is how they build them. And they wonder why they fall apart. But you can see that radii right there. And you have more than one radius, they call them a radii. That foam just fell out. And that's it. Then they got that plywood there, which is all rotted. And then they tried to screw it into the frame right there. But it just isn't a good mix. So obviously we're going to rebuild it, and I'll put a better radius on there. And but I mean, it's just, this is the way they do them. So when people say, hey, which one's the best? They build them all the same. They build them all the same. It's just like, and actually this, I have templates that I keep. And this one matches up with a Majestic. And this is a Fourwinds. I don't know if they're the same company or whatever. I don't keep track of all that. I just know that they're all the same. But some of the radii right here, they're a little different. So, but we'll take that platform out too. But all that's rotted, so we got to inspect everything. And this platform's going to sit on the cab. Some of them don't, but this one does. Meaning some Class C's. Working on another Super C, and it doesn't. It sits up. That's probably why it's in my head. But so that's what we're going to get going. But I just wanted to show you what we're up against, what we're looking at right now. That should be a lot stronger. That thing, they rack, and when you go down the road, you get all that headwind at it. And we really need to make sure it can handle that headwind and be able to have the flex that it needs to travel, but also the strength so it's not going to come apart. Well, we get the bunk out, and we're going to obviously rebuild the platform and everything, and check the walls. We'll check the walls and everything. We'll do all that, and we noticed some D-lam on the back, and that was on this back side right here. Quiet on the set. Quiet on the set. We'll call the stairs. We got some pretty good D-lam there. Flop. Well, we're gonna figure that out. So what we're doing now, this doesn't have that big of a problem. There's a wall right here. Got a little bit of belly that I saw over there I didn't like. So we're gonna remedy that. And then what we're doing, and the reason why you see all this, part of the problem is that they glued the foam to the ceiling, but they never glued it to the actual aluminum frame. So that's what we're going to do, and then we're going to clad over this with a little heavier sheathing to give it a little more strength. After we, basically we're going to distress it out to try to get as much arc as we can, and we'll glue it all down and let her sit. So that's our plan. So in the meantime, we want to make sure we got any wires, like right here. We'll probably put a bushing in there. We just have them floating around. So we want to check all that, make sure they're all tight. Well, we got a whole bunch of D-lam. This whole side, all the way up to where it says Fourwinds on this side, is all rotted, all up there, all down there. So we're going to take the whole thing off. We're going to take the whole side off. It's easier than making all these cuts. There's only a couple of feet that are not rotted. So this way we can go in and we'll make sure all the framing is. Also down the bottom there, that's all rotted. That bottom one we haven't released where the door is, over there. So that's what we're working on, trying to take this whole thing apart. Okie dokie, look what we did. We've got it all back together. And so you saw all the rot in there. Then what we had to do, and we have been so busy in this shop that I've been missing a couple of clips. I go, man, I wanted to show that, and I miss it. Yeah. But anyhow, so what we did underneath here is you have to go in and clear all the bad stuff out, and you got to cut it out of there, meaning the bad substrate that's behind there. Once you get that done, then you got to clean the actual siding itself, make sure it's all set. And then you got to glue this piece to there, and then that piece to this piece, and that's what we did. So we got it all done. Up on the top here, that black, what that is a, basically it's a corner protective piece that'll protect the pylon from where the roof is, that sharpness. So when the roof comes over, a while back I used to put a buffer strip, what I call the buffer strip, on there, and it was basically just to protect that corner from chafing the main roofing. I didn't like the way it sat on some of these, what I call square style shoulders. Some of them have the round style, like especially on some fifth wheels and Class A's. And then you get into these travel trailers and smaller Class C's. They have more of a square. And the square is hard to pull down with as heavy as a roofing that we use. It is very, thick. So I wanted to make it look cleaner and tighter, but still have the same protection. So that's why I started making those up. Always improving, always improving. So this was the other mess that was down here. Like I said, so we've got all that together. And now we just got to put all the trim back on, put your doors back on, wheel well, that type stuff. I like to get a roof on this thing. Got a couple windows there and there. So she's coming back together, and then she asked us to not put that front window in that goes in this bunk. The one up here, on the top side here. She said, do not put that in if you don't have to. So we're going to omit it. Alrighty, so far, that is our Fourwinds. Alright, this is what we got. The driver's side over here, this has already been glued, and it's down. So you can see all the glue on here. We got a fancy dancy sprayer. We sprayed this whole thing. We're going to roll it out, and then we're going to roll it out with another roller. This is going to get pinned down up underneath. This will go underneath the roofing. This is your fiberglass, or the Phylon. So you can see we made some shoulders to go over here. That's to protect the plywood and the edge there, where the plywood and the siding come together. That's what that's for. So we're going to get rolling this out. We got bunk to kind of put back together. We got a lot of stuff to do. So we got to rock and roll. Okay, we have got the radius done. You can see we got a piece of sheet metal on the bottom. We got another one on the top. So this whole radius right here is all made up one big piece, and it's I may have to try and show you. I think I showed it already, but I'll show you what one looks like. But anyhow, it's not going anywhere. It's real light, but it's super strong. And but then, like I said, we got the one on the top. So everything's all glued and stapled in there right now, and then we're gonna put the new siding on there. She wanted to omit the window, so let's see if I can show you what one of these look like. Just so Mr. and Mrs. Customer knows what we're doing. It's got foam in it. Here's one of the radius we got. It's got foam in it, all the way built all the way across. It's the same thing. So once we put that on, then we just put the sheet metal on there. That ties the lower bunk into that top piece there, where the window used to be. Then we put the other piece of sheet metal on the top, which ties that top bunk into the roof system. And then once you glue it all with the piece of Phylon, it's tight. All right, we have got our Fourwinds done. You can see we removed the window. We also put in new lights up there. The other ones are all corroded and cracked. So we just put LED lights up in there. Then you don't even have to get back there and do anything. So we get all that fixed. And then on the side, we fixed the, we'll zoom this back so it don't shake so much. I don't know if you can see it here. But we fixed all this, put all new sheathing inside behind the Phylon. Obviously put the Phylon back. We did the same down the end. I think I showed you that. But I don't know if I actually got a clip of the, I don't think I did, got a clip of the new sheathing behind there. But because the shop was just, we're super busy. And sometimes I just, you know, it just runs away from me and things are already done. They go, hey, I want to get a video on it. Well, we had to get it done. But let me go up here and show you the roof. All right. This is our roof. Ta-da! We got our brand on the back there. If you've watched all our other videos, you know we put them on there so we can keep track of, you know, when we install the roof. Also, when it comes back for inspections, we like to see these come back 30 days, 60 maximum. I say 30. Give you a little allowance, but I want to see them come back so I can check everything. It's all new. It's shaking, flexing, moving. I want to make sure everything's staying tight the way it should, and the way you paid us to do it. So, and it's free. After that, come back once a year. So just for starters, I want to thank the customer for bringing this into us. We appreciate the work, and we take our time to do it right. You know, it takes us a while to do these roofs. So if you're on our board, and I call it a board because I can't use a calendar. I don't know how long some of these things take. So that being said, on our board, you can see all the work that goes into and what we look for and what we correct. And then there are a lot of things that we are not aware of, like this wall that back here that we had to fix. Let me step back a little bit. The wall that we had to fix here and up front, that we didn't know about. And all that takes some extra time. So as you can see, we've got everything all heat welded, all our curbs. These are all custom made. I made them. I designed the whole roof system. If there's somebody else telling you that they know how to do these curbs, they do them just like us. I've never trained anybody to do them. So just keep that in mind. So we've got, again, all the curbs. These are all heat welded. You don't have all that caulking on there. So, you know, we've got caulking on here. We've taken all the screws out of these because this is an adhesive caulk that we use. Now, a lot of people say, what are you using? What are you doing? What are you doing? I hate to give advice on certain things because I don't know what you have for caulking. I don't know what you have that you're working on. I don't want to give you bad advice because if it doesn't work, you're just going to be shaking your fist at me saying, oh, he didn't know what he was talking about, or didn't want to tell me the right answer, or whatever. It's not that at all. We just, you know, there are certain things that are not compatible with other things, or there's certain preparations that need to be done prior to putting other things on. I just simply can't go over all that. It just, a lot of work, a lot of time. So all these curves we cut. This is obviously the skylight. We put a new skylight lens on. The other one was all trashed. But again, this is all heat welded in here. We got a flange. This is a piece of counter flashing. That's what that is. So this is plumbing right here for the shower. And then this one over here, if that pops off, take this one and put it on that, or cover it with tape. So what that is an intake. This is a solar fan. So what happens, I think we showed, I don't know if we actually showed the damage to the inside of the shower, but a lot of times you'll get that damage around in the inside of the skylight, the ceiling area. And what happens is when condensation sits on it, you get some frost on here. When the frost is sitting on the outside, a lot of people think it's just on the outside. It's not. It's on both sides. And that principle applies to everything, not just this lens. It applies like vinyl siding. It applies aluminum siding on certain coaches as well, right? So it applies to all of that. And what happens when the sun comes up and evaporates, it condensates, evaporates that off, underneath, it'll warm up the lens, but it can't evaporate it off. So what happens is when it condensates, it trickles down and it gets down inside the ceiling. And that's what caused it to rot. So keeping that in mind, there's a trough that runs inside, and then there's a trough over here. So that's a solar fan. When the sun comes up to evaporate the frost off of this, or the dew, whatever you want to call it, when it goes to evaporate that off, then it's going to kick on this fan. And it'll draw it from here, and the air goes up over the inner lens, and it'll come down, and it'll just pull, and it'll stay on. It'll stay on as long as there's sunlight on it. It'll stay on. So, but this is, you know, there's a spring on there, and we also put a piece of foam in there, and it's kind of like a filtered foam, so it'll let air in, but I don't want any wasps getting in there, so we put that in there as well. But this is the plumbing. So if that pops off, that's going to leak right into the shower area. Where if this pops off, it's going right down into the holding tank. So that's easy. So just swap them if you have to. So everything else is all heat welded on there. Again, you can see we put our logo on here, RVRI, May of 22. And that's so we can just check it when it comes back for inspections. And also it helps out if she ever wanted to sell the coach, the camper here, if she wanted to sell it. You don't have to worry about someone trying to talk her down, going, hey, you know, these RV roofs, obviously, clearly you can see this isn't your typical RV roof, but nonetheless, she can say, hey, that roof is still under warranty, you know. So we got our little bat wing up on here, put that up on a curb. We've got some stands in the back just to give the air conditioner some balance, because we did put it up on a curb. So, and you know, again, it has all the same counter flashing. This is all our counter flashing. So the purpose of this is when the rain starts coming across in a heavy rain, or even in a regular rain, but anyhow, that blowing wind, it's going to want to try to come up. It'll hit this and get deflected out. It's not going to be able to jump. So basically what a curb does, these are what's called curbs. Some people call them, you know, they're not a box really. They're in the commercial roofing industry, they're called curbs. The commercial roofing industry doesn't make them for these. So, you know, I have to custom make every single one like this. They're not going to make that. That's going to be too technical. There's a lot of measurements on that, obviously. Then we got the same boots. We got boots over there for the ladder. And so now when you climb up the ladder, those things, they move around a lot. So we also took the ladder apart and we put all the screws back, made sure all the screws were tight and fresh and not rusted out, and we put Loctite on them. That's what we do on those. And then we changed all the nuts out on here. We put those in nylon lock nuts right there. We don't use the regular nuts that come with them with the washers and the lock washers. You don't do that. We don't want them to come out. So we've got all that together, and then like you said, we've got the stands in the back. On the front, there's a piece of counter flash that goes under the lid of this. So as the rain's coming down, it's going to hit that counter flash and it's going to go below the counter flash of here and get washed out. Up underneath here, even sitting on the curb, is a foam gasket, and I just don't want that water driving into the gasket. So all that'll get diverted out. So got 2 strikes of caulking on everything. Got 2 strikes of caulking all the way down there. That's a nice, pretty bead. So when we put these on, we use an adhesive caulk that goes on, and then we strike the top of that. And then once we strike the top of that, we put our first strike. And then when that cures, we put a second strike. So we got 2 strikes on there. The reason why we do 2 strikes, I don't have a tube to show you, but on every caulking there is, if it's in a tube, it doesn't matter what it is, there's air in it. So you may be going along, and if you've ever used a caulking gun, you'll hear it pop or crackle. You just injected an air bubble. So as this is going down the road, racking, twisting, flexing, doing all the dancing it does, that will breach. And when that breaches, if there's nothing behind it, then obviously that's a leak now. So what are the chances of having one air bubble over another? Probably slim to none. So we did go around some of these windows that we could see that were an issue, but I would recommend that you go over the whole thing. Obviously wash the whole coach and try to make it a little cleaner. And we went around, like you said, the top of the window. We try to get everything from the scaffold up, so someone doesn't say, hey, I got a roof leak. And you go, no, it's not a roof leak. It's really coming from your window, or it's coming from a light, or it's coming from something else. So seal around all the lights. Here's another plumbing. Got a refrigerator there. So everything's all set. And we also zip tie. We zip tie these before they leave. We do that because there's a little plastic clip on the back. There's that little knob you got to twist, and some of them have a latch and some have a clip. But those clips, they don't always stay tight. So I just put those on there to make sure. So then I put them in that color on purpose. So if someone's trying to get the awning open, if I put them in white, they may not recognize that it's zip tied and be kind of pulling on it, right? So you can see we put the drop. We put those on there. We protect the entire coach. We do all that so we don't get booger all over the window, debris or anything on the screen. So we protect everything, as you've seen as we've gone along. So all in all, she's ready to go. Our little Fourwinds is ready for some travels, that's for sure. So let me see here. Let me tell you about the roofing itself. This is a 60 mil. That's what they call it in the commercial biz. Is a 60 mil. This is a sample I made up. If you really want one, you can reach out to us at all our information is rvroofinstall.com, but it's just contact us at rvroofinstall.com if you really wanted one. We got our telephone number, little camper there. This is 60 mil. This is obviously tan, but this is a structured membrane, and you can see in there. Let me get a little closer. Sometimes it's better to go closer with the camera than to zoom up. But you can see these little fibers. That is a reinforced membrane. That helps against hail and tree branches and things like that. If you ever had an issue with tree branches hitting this, then what you can do is just, if you had the hole right there, you can take, and we leave a care package and we'll put the other clip on the end of this. But then what you can do is just put the caulking in there and you go around in a circle and squeeze it and it'll pop out. And all the stuff that we use, it's all moisture cured, so it could be raining out and it wouldn't matter. It'll cure out and stop that leak. Then we leave patches on there as well. So the roof itself is pretty easy to inspect. It's just smart to inspect it, for sure. But we go around with this tool here, and you just check the welds just like this. And see how they keep slipping off? That means that's a real good weld. And even if it was tight, if there was just a little bit in there, that's not the end of the world. You can, we come back for inspections. That's what we want to check, double check everything. It's just a prudent measure. There's a lot of work into it. So you go along like that and check all the welds. And then, if you saw something that was more than that, like I said, we leave a care package, and we have all that, and I explain how to do that on the care package of how to seal it. But really, the caulking will seal that up for time being, and then you come in, and we'll do it for free and take care of it. But it's far and few between, but hey, things happen. We rely on the caulking, we rely on the material, we rely on the products that we use. So, if for some reason, and also the people that work here. And yes, there are some chuckleheads that have worked here, and we try to weed them out as quick as we can. This isn't an easy job. These are not DIY videos, and a lot of people think, hey, this is easy, I've done houses, I can do this. I'm telling you, this is not an easy job. There's a lot of figuring, there's a lot of things that you have to look for prior, as it's uncovered, and it's not easy. I've done general contracting work for years, and I've got 3 general contracting licenses from 3 different states, which shall I say I had, because I don't renew them, I don't need them. And but a lot of what we do is restaurants. And restaurants are very similar to RVs. because they have so many things coming up through the roof. You know, you have a lot of vents, you got your air conditioners, you've got plumbing, you got electrical, you got all this stuff coming through the roof, and all that needs to be what they call flashed out, and that's where all the detail is. And all that design makes a difference, especially the flow of the water, depending on the restaurant and how the water flows. There's a lot to it. So all that being said, these are not that easy. So you know, this is the rest of our roof. Lost my train of thought there, I guess. I hear something coming across my phone. There's a tiny text message. So all right, that's us. We appreciate you watching. And like I said, keep in mind, these aren't DIY videos. That's where I was going with this, is because I don't know what you're working on, and it's not that easy for me to get up and just answer all the calls and answer all the emails and so forth. And again, I don't want to steer anybody wrong, so it's not that I'm too good to show anybody. I'm actually trying to figure a way, and I've been working on it for a while, but I would really like to, if anybody knows of any ideas of how to do it, I would really like to start a school and teach people how to do this, because I can't do this for the rest of my life. And I would show them how they can build every single component, how they can build everything, how they can recognize structural issues, how to do welding, not just this kind of welding, metal welding, fabrication, all sorts of stuff. So if that's something that anybody knows anything about, you know, you can try to get with me, send me some info on it. Maybe work through a Votech or something, I don't know. But there aren't any companies that do the work we do. And, you know, the folks come a long way. Can't remember, I think she's just from the Georgia area here, but you know, we've got another coach in the other bay. She came from Connecticut. We've got them coming from Canada, Florida, Washington State. They come everywhere because no one does the degree of work and takes the time to address it like we do. So, well, we appreciate it, and I don't need to keep babbling. If you have any more questions or anything, like I said, you can leave a comment down below, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks. Let's see, we got all the coaches that come out with a care package. This is our care package right here. See if I can zoom this in. We got a license plate right here if he wants to put that on. We've got, this is a piece of patch. It's an emergency patch in case he got a tree branch to come down and if he had to patch it. Now this is a hot patch. This is the one that we would use much like this one around here. It's just the same material, but so that would have to be welded in. However, in an emergency, if you had a hole, I won't say whatever, right here, if you saw it in there, you take this and shove it in that hole, and you go squirt, 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 squirt all around in a circle like that, and load it. Then you squeeze it, it'll bubble up. That's done. This is a moisture cured product. That's what we use. We use all Chemlink products. This is Durlink. That's what we use. So that'll seal it. But then we also left a couple of patches. So the way you want to do your patching, there's an roll away. The way you want to do your patching, and we left a couple in here, is you would center it over your hole. Once you get it centered, take a pen and outline this. You want to outline it with a pen. Now you got that, just set that aside. And we left, there's a little bit of primer right here. You're going to need that primer. And I might as well empty everything out of this thing. Here's a brush. So now you want to go beyond the ink line. You want to go beyond that, maybe 3/8 of an inch or so. So you're going to be doing this on your ink line. Then you want to do the whole thing here. So you got all inside the ink line, and then about 3/8 over the ink line. You're going to take your patch. You're going to peel the back. This film will peel right off, and you line it up. And I usually reach up underneath, and then I take my other hand and I kind of pull it this way. It keeps it nice and smooth. Now you've got your ink line there, you got your primer out here, you take your brush again and go over this. Just like that, okay? Go over here. Because it won't bond to this. That's the purpose of the primer. Nothing's gonna bond to the TPO unless it's primed. So once you get that, then you come back with your product and you can put some caulking around there. And that's gonna be a pretty darn good Band-Aid. Now, if the customer really feels he needs to have a hot patch put on it, that's why we left this. We don't want someone to just go to if he can't come back here, we do them for free. If he can't make it here and he's somewhere else, he's like, yeah, that really needs to be put on there. You cannot interchange these materials. So some people think you can take, this is a Carlisle membrane right here. Now Carlisle does make a couple other products, but it has to be the same Carlisle product. But you couldn't take, for instance, GAF and put it on there. You couldn't take Genflex and put it on there. You can't do that. They're two totally different companies, and they're two totally different products. I mean, they're still TPO, but it's kind of like Ford and Chevy. Yeah, they're both a car, they're both a truck, but they're not compatible. You're not swapping parts on them. So it may seem like it'll weld on there. And I've had people at supply houses tell me, oh yeah, we don't have any of that, but you can use this. You can't. There's enough chemical imbalance in each product where they're not compatible. So that's why we put that in there, just in case. So you got the primer, you got that, you got the brush, you got some caulking. And then the caulking, we like to see these come back in 30 days, okay? 30 to 60 days for an initial inspection. After that, it's annual. Now, if the customer says, well, I want to inspect it myself, we want them to go along, put a little friction on here to get it warmed up, and then this is going to stay tight anyways. But in the event he found something, hey, it looks a little loose or whatever, you can put a little bit more primer on there, and you can use that to just give it a little low, especially around the corners. You can go around the corners and everything like that if you had to. So that's why we put all that in there. Let's see, we got a magnet for maybe on your hood of your stove. Got a couple of pens here. Got a fancy dancy key tag with a beverage opener. We can't say beer, it's a beverage. So this is a checker tool. So this is used to check the joint, the welds. You go along like this, and if it pops in there and you find a little hole, we'll say there was a tiny bit, if you did, that's what you check for. And these things are gonna move a little bit. So if you did, then again, you can take the primer, take a little brush, put it all in there, take the caulking, and you're done. Okay, that'll hold it so we can get a look at it and make sure everything's all set. But like I said, that's what we like to see. It come back in about 30 days. I like to see them, but 60, all right. But I still want them inspected because I don't want to have a little tiny problem turn into a big problem and then an upset customer. So we got all of that there, and let's see what else we got here. Here is a sample of our product. This is a 60 mil commercial grade. And if you look real hard enough, you can probably see the little, see if I get the angle of this light in here from the shot, you can see these little squares. There's a mesh built into this which gives it its strength. So that's where it'll resist hail damage, it'll resist tree branches. So it's really hard to poke through this. It truly is. You'd have to have something really hard and sharp to really get it, but if you had a big enough tree branch, that could possibly happen. So we get all that, and then like I said, got another key tag and everything in here. So that's the gist of it. So all the customers, they get these here, and we got an emblem on the back. There's one of our emblems here that we put on the back, and that's about it. So we leave all this with the customer, so Mr. and Mrs. Customer, at least they have all this stuff handy in case of an emergency. So we want to make sure everything stays tight and everything, you got all the products you need, so on. So obviously if you have any issues, there's a telephone number, 423-475-7663. Keeping all this in mind, these are not intended for DIY. I just simply don't have the time to answer all these DIY questions. And the other thing is, I don't know what you're dealing with. I don't know what you have. I don't know what products are on there. And I have guys ask me all the time, what can I use for this? What can I use for that? And I don't want to steer anybody in the wrong direction and find out, okay, well, you got silicone on your windows. What can I use to do my windows? Well, you're going to have to dig all that out. You have to dig it all out. Nothing sticks to silicone. Silicone doesn't stick to silicone. So you really got to clean all that out. And if you don't know if you have silicone, and some people don't know the difference, they can't just go up there and feel it and go, yeah, that's silicone, or it's just a urethane, or it's a terpolymer. I mean, there's a bunch of different products out in the market now. But the biggest one is being the silicone. And some products kind of simulate in a touch. So you may think it's silicone, but all that has to be, like I said, it has to be removed. But again, that's why I try not to get into advising, and I just don't want anybody to be upset. But honestly, I really don't have the time at the risk of sounding like a jerk. I'm not trying to be. I'm trying to do a good job, but you can imagine how many emails and we get from with questions, and also questions on our channel. Keeping this in mind as well, we don't quote on social media. If you want a quote on yours, you'd have to give us a call. Again, 423-475-7663. You can do that, and then you can send us an email even if you wanted to at contactus@rvroofinstall.com. So that's about it. Everything's done. I think the customer just showed up, so we're going to get him coupled up here, and he may want to take a glance at the roof, and otherwise we're good to go. So we appreciate y'all watching. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. what that does, from what I understand from the algorithms, what it does is if somebody's looking for information on RV roofs, then this video or other videos will pop up. That's what I'm guessing. So if you want to subscribe, well, we put these up pretty often. You can go through a lot of the other videos we have. Some I'm trying to think of some really good ones that we did that were just a hot mess. There's a Georgetown we did, I think a couple years ago. That Georgetown, we did the whole ceiling, took the whole ceiling and roof out and rebuilt that whole entire thing. There's a Montana that's up there. There's a earlier from years ago, maybe 5 years ago, there is a Siesta, and that was roof we did, and the guy who did that roof put 2 roofs on, put the first one on, messed it up, put the second one on, messed it up, and you'll see that hot mess they did. They did not know what they're doing. So keep that in mind. There's a lot of guys out here on YouTube that'll say, hey, yeah, you can do this, you can do that. There's a couple of so-called experts that are out there, and I watched one of their videos, or a few of them, and I just shake my head because I know things are going to leak, and I know some of the stuff they've done, they have to have leaked, because there's just no way things go together like that. So if they're not, I don't think they mention that, but on their video, I haven't seen mention, hey, yeah, we had a leak, we had to fix it. But if we have any issues, obviously we want the customer to come back immediately, and let's stifle any leaks at all. But that's like almost unheard of. And I'll be honest with you, some of the biggest problems we've had are with these skylights, with them fracturing, and that's why we do them differently. Some of these ones, like I said, they're manufacturer's defects on a lot of them. But that being said, especially if you had a cambered roof, if you had a roof that had just a little bit of a camber, that wants to lay down flat, like just a flat piece of glass. And if you just make this end tighter and that a little tighter, now it's got that little stress going on it, and it only needs a little bit of stress to crack it. So that's one reason why we don't put any screws in anymore. So, and if they come back for inspection, we take all the screws out, and then what we'll do is just load them, because the product that we use underneath there, it's not coming up. It won't come up. If you have to replace that, you're going to have to rip up that whole entire lens, and you're going to have to. It's not coming up. So, well, anyhow, like I said, I appreciate y'all watching, and we'll see you on the next one.